Happy Wednesday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead, another episode of Drank and Champagne. I'm joined as always by Mr. Andrew Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing, my friend?
So I'm hanging in there reasonably well. You may notice a blank background here behind me. I am in the process of moving into my new place. I'm actually, Ben, thank you. Been over here about a week now, but as anybody that has moved knows, it's a genuine process. There are a whole bunch of boxes to unload. There's a lot of organizing that needs to get done. Josh, as you and I were talking about, I have a whole bunch of boxes from our friends at Wayfair out in the dining room area for a whole bunch of things that are going to be put together this coming weekend. So lots going on, and that's even before we get into the crux of a couple of things we're going to talk about on this show. Apologies that we were not able to bring you a show last week. I was actually driving back to my place to try to do one of those shows, and I came down with one of those migraines, Josh, where it feels like your head is spinning off of your shoulders. So, yeah, the one place I was going was straight to bed when I got home. But we're back. We're happy to be back. And if you're happy to see us be back, go on down below on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out as far as being able to deliver content to you like this all year long across a variety of different tracks. You've got us, you've got to be shot-tinning me, you've got the Thursday night streaming crew. There's a lot of really cool things here on the Wrong Lead, and we're coming up on a really busy time of the year, Josh. 2 weeks until the 2025, 2 months, excuse me, 2 weeks. My goodness, moving's really thrown me off. 2 months until the 2025 Kentucky Derby. Said it right that time.
There you go, which is also, that means 2 months until I have to present at a conference. So I'll be presenting at a conference the Tuesday of Derby week. I forget what the
5-0 Tuesday?
5-0 Tuesday, yep. So 5-0 Tuesday, I will be presenting at a conference, and then I have my last conference day Wednesday, and I'll be taking Thursday, Friday off, and just kind of enjoying the Derby. Well, I'm going to talk to the guys. We might do more live stream content this week for the Derby since none of us are traveling, but we're gonna kind of figure out what everyone's plan is for that. But more to come. Obviously, this is a real busy time for us. Exciting time. And we got kind of two main topics. The first one, I guess we'll kind of jump into. I'm actually going to be meeting up with Caleb in Vegas here in a couple days. So I'm actually flying out tomorrow. So I fly out tomorrow afternoon. Technically, it's like 12:40 flight. And my buddy Gary, he's flying in at about 10 p.m. So I'm actually going to get dinner with one of my friends who lives out in Vegas. We're going to go to Herbs and Rye. I've never been. I've heard nothing but good things about it. It's well received by people. They say the steaks are good and they're reasonably priced, and they have a real big whiskey selection. So so we're gonna check that out. And my friend's been nice enough to tell me he's gonna pick me up. So
what a guy!
I think I get in around 2:40. So I told him, hey, let's do 6 because I should probably be at my hotel by 3:30, 4 o'clock at the latest. So and I'm gonna try and hold my bankroll till Gary gets in, because last time I went, I landed super early. I got a real early flight. I think I landed at like 9 a.m. Vegas time. It was like a 6 a.m. flight, 6:30, 7 a.m. flight out of Chicago. And I was like, all right, like thinking that I would be able to get in my room early, and I didn't. But I was like, all right, I'll check my bags with the desk, and I'll just go and I'll start playing. And I got killed. I think before my room was ready, I went to the craps table, and at least there, like, my money lasted. But before I got to the craps table, I was probably down $200 in cash. Plus, I played through like the free play they gave me. I think they gave me $100 in free play, so I played through that, and I think I had I had like $60, and I was like, I brought, a couple $100 to like last me the first day before I'd have to go to the ATM. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? This is awful. Like, I just like burned through it. And like, by that point it was like 9:30, and I was already down, like $250, and I'm just like, what the heck? So I played craps for a couple hours. Luckily, the game went real slow because there was a very very drunk man at the table, and he would literally pick the dice up, get ready to throw, and then he would stop. He wouldn't let go of the dice, and he'd start to tell a story.
Oh no.
And the dealers were just letting him do. I mean, he was just like tipping them and everything, and like I rolled and I had a couple nice rolls, and he actually like gave me a quarter. Like he's just like, oh, great roll and stuff. So like he was just like he wasn't like throwing a ton of money around. Granted, right? We're playing at a $10 table here, but he was throwing $5 chips here, like he was treating the dealers well. Like so, I think they were and like he was harmless, right? He was just real slow. Um, but and me already being down $250 and like trying to stretch out my like the $250 I had, like I'm like, roll as slow as you like. I'm okay with it, right? Other people were getting pretty annoyed, and like they'd be like, this fucking guy, and they'd be walking around or whatever. But it was yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, so Gary got in last time, same time at 10 p.m. and we start playing. I go to the video poker bar to meet him, so I'm there at like 9, and I had probably had two double bourbons by the time he got there, and he hits the ground running. He's like, "Let's light up a cigar. Let's play some more video poker. Let's go play craps." Next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And I have been in Vegas since 9 a.m. was basically like was a very very short break. So I mean, Vegas days are long already, just with the gambling, the drinking, and I'm just like, I was like, oh god, I'm like, I cannot like, if me and my wife go, sure, we can land at 9, like that's fine. But if Gary's not landing until 10 p.m., you better believe I am not getting there at 9 o'clock anymore because I learned my lesson last time. That
Yep.
was way too much. That was way too long of a day. Um, but yeah, so he and I are going to be there Wednesday, Thursday. Caleb lands first thing in the morning Friday. Our buddy Mike PDT, he lands Friday as well. They're going to Uber together because they land like 10 minutes apart from each other. And then we're going to a Knights game on Friday.
Nice. That's a
So
really good time. I went once with my dad. The Oilers were in town, so I got to see Connor McDavid play. That was pretty cool. We wound up. This is one of those Vegas things where you never know who you're going to wind up sitting next to and what their story is going to be. We sat a row in front of a couple that had been together a very long time, and whenever one of them left, the other immediately started complaining about their health choices. Apparently, the guy was a smoker and the girl was anti vax. So they took turns bitching about one another when
that's
the other
funny.
was not around. I have no idea how they found each other or if they're still together or not, but it was a sideshow for sure. But Golden Knights games are a blast. They usually trot out a couple of celebrities each game. There's a big pregame show. You're gonna want to get there early. It's a blast.
Yeah, and I have been, we were looking for tickets for a while. So it's they're playing the Penguins, and Caleb is um, he's a Penguins fan.
Really?
So yeah, so that's kind of nice, right? Like he's going to be able to see his kind of, he grew up in West Virginia, the part of West Virginia that is right next to Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Um, so but yeah, I've been like kind of like scouring tickets to see like how much they are, and like yeah, I mean they're about the same. I think I paid like $67 a ticket, right? So after fees and stuff, I think it was about $80, which is not bad. Like that, like, and it was funny because I have a couple of coworkers who are in town the same couple days. They're in town for a board game conference,
There's a
and
board game conference.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
they're or
awesome.
not conference, but what's the word? Convention. So like
Convention.
they're gonna play board games and stuff with other people, and like I had I was like, Gary's a night owl. I'm like, I could probably go to this convention Wednesday and Thursday and just hang out with you guys before Gary even wakes up and gets there. And then like, but they only had you had to buy the full week ticket, and it wasn't even that much. But then once we bought these nights tickets, I kind of opted out. But they're gonna meet us up for dinner at Din Tai Fung. It's the only place that I have reservations for so far. Friday, since we're going to the game, we're probably just I'm gonna try and actually go to Bavette's and eat at the bar, and I'll see. I'll be like, hey, if you guys can get a seat at the bar, great. But I couldn't get a table anywhere because I think everybody is trying to get dinner before the night's game around
Yep.
there. So, um, but it should be a good time. I plan on playing a lot of video poker and draining money as slowly as possible while getting as many drinks as possible. I'm planning on playing a lot of video poker specifically at Cosmo because they will comp you an old fashioned that's actually pretty damn good. So yeah, that's gonna be my plan. And I know on Saturday, PDT had talked about trying to get somewhere to watch the Tampa Bay Derby and get some money down on that
Hopefully
and
this
bets.
year we can all bet on the Tampa Bay Derby.
Oh God, I forgot that. Well, that was last year, huh?
Last year, yep, 1 year ago. Before we go too much further, though, I got to tell you, I had no idea Caleb was a Penguins fan. I've got a connection to the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise. Their TV play-by-play guy is a gentleman by the name of Josh Getzoff. Josh Getzoff, a graduate of the Ithaca College, class of 2011. I did Ithaca College football radio with him my senior year, his junior year. Great guy. Love seeing him do as well as he is. But yeah, he's got 2 Stanley Cup rings because the first 2 years he was with the Penguins, they won the Stanley Cup. So something cool that he gets to show off every once in a while. Good dude. And yeah, if you peek your head in the TV booth, tell him Andrew Champagne says hi, will you?
Nice. Yeah, but like honestly, like we didn't have too much going on for this week. Wanted to get an episode out and talk about some stuff. And I was thinking, hey, the middle, the second kind of group of Derby preps are basically over. Obviously, we have the Tampa Bay Derby and I believe the Virginia Derby.
Yes.
Is that both this weekend? And
I think
then
the Virginia Derby might be next weekend. I'm not
next
sure.
weekend. Okay, but after that we start moving into Louisiana Derby, Florida Derby. We start getting into the last set of big preps. And so, Andrew, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of go through a list of top 20, 25 horses out here. And we're going to kind of go maybe rapid fire ish through here. And we're going to kind of put these into a couple categories, right? And the ones I came up with are Contender, Long Shot, Makes the Gate, and Misses the Gate, right? Or just maybe like this isn't a horse that we think are gonna get there. Obviously, a top 20 in points, get in. Obviously, there's some horses that hey maybe haven't even run yet in a prep that might magically show up in one of these preps. So a lot can change, but I thought, hey, you know, from the top 20 horses, you got to figure at least half of these are making the gate, if not more. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk through them, and we'll kind of go top to bottom until maybe we get to a point where we think maybe we can stop, and maybe after that, maybe I can just kind of cherry pick a couple of
Cherry
horses that
drank,
are
cherry picking. I see
cherry
what you
drank,
did
cherry
there.
pick. There we go.
Waka, waka, waka.
I was looking for the boo button.
Yeah, I was
But
I was wondering if my connection gave out or not, but yeah, I figured you had the boo button queued up somewhere.
all right, so let's start at the top. Coal Battle, right? Last seen winning the Rebel Stakes.
Quick question before we go much further. Can you by any chance share that list with our YouTube viewers here? Slash
Uh,
so I don't have to jump back and forth between tabs.
sure. Just so you know, I am going to be using our friends at Horse Racing Nation here.
There we go.
They have a nice list up. Let me hit the old share button here. And is it this one?
There we
There we
go.
go. So our friends at Horse Racing Nation, they got a nice list up here. They got the last race, they got the earnings, how many points these horses have. Obviously, check them out, horseracing.nation.com. And like I said, top horse, Cold Battle, 70 points, trained by Lonnie Briley here. And last one, the Rebel. Andrew, what do you think?
Heck of a story. Lonnie Briley, a very small barn. He's got a heck of a horse on his hands that's won a couple of stakes races now. Stepped up in class, sprang an upset in the Rebel. To me, as of right now, he's a contender because he wound up beating a pretty nice Bob Baffert horse named Madaket Road, who we'll get to. Madaket Road probably isn't the best in Baffert's barn, but I think Cole Battle's legit. Contender.
All right. Number 2, Citizen Bull, 60 points here for Bob Baffert. Last race won the Robert B. Lewis.
I'll say contender, but the hesitation that I have with him is I'm not sure if he's trip dependent. We know he is very good on the lead. Horses that need the lead in the Kentucky Derby, that's a spotty track record, but he has topped my Derby bubble rankings the first 2 weeks over on Pollock Report. He's going to be very, very high in this week's rendition as well. For me, contender, but I will be eagerly watching his last Kentucky Derby prep. I wouldn't be surprised if, with 60 points in the bank, Baffert and company try to teach Citizen Bull a little bit because they've got, I think, enough Derby points to make the field. And he may very well need to learn to sit a little bit if he's going to wind up winning the race. So I'll put him in the contender category.
Andrew, how do you pronounce the third horse's name?
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty? Well, I have no idea why I had such a hard time with it. I don't know.
It's a
Sovereignty
weird
here.
word. It's a weird word. I'll give you that.
Maybe I just haven't seen it written out in a long time. But last one, the Fountain of Youth here for Bill Mott.
So I goofed in my first Derby bubble, and I didn't have him in the top 20. He won the Street Sense last year, had not run since. I corrected that this past week. I believe I had him 11th. He's going to move up a bit. But while that effort was very visually impressive, I'm not sure what he beat. I need to see him against a top quality field. If he stays at Gulfstream, I'm not sure what he's going to run against because I am just not a fan of the 3-year-olds at Gulfstream Park. I just don't think they're that good in comparison to prior years. He's obviously a contender, but I'm going to put him in the long shot category because I feel like people are going to rocket him up Derby lists because of his effort in last weekend's Fountain of Youth. And he ran well, but I still think he needs to move forward a bit, especially on speed figures. So for me, I guess I'd have to put him in long shot, even though the more accurate word is probably underlay.
All right, number 4, Flood Zone. Brad Cox trains this horse. Last won the Gotham.
One of the categories was makes the gate.
Yep.
Yeah, makes the gate. Somebody had to win the Gotham. It was not a good race quality wise. That was a one-turn race where he ran a mile in 139 and change. 50 Derby points is 50 Derby points, but I got to tell you, it feels a little bit weird seeing him above the next horse we're going to talk about on a Derby list.
Number 5, Journalism. 47.5 points for Mike McCarthy. Last one, the San Felipe.
Spoiler alert, this will be my number 1 horse in the Derby bubble this week over on the Pollock Report. Such a nice professional racehorse. Came on the scene with a win in the Los Al Futurity as a 2-year-old. Beat a very nice Bob Baffert trainee named Gaming, who we may or may not get to. Came back in the San Felipe. Beat the very highly regarded Barnes, who I think actually ran very well, all things considered. I am not willing to go the route of horse racing Twitter and say, oh, Barnes sucks. Barnes does not suck. Barnes ran well. Journalism ran better. Contender bordering on top pick.
Number 6, Getaway Car. Bob Baffert trained, won the Sunland Derby.
This year's Sunland Derby wasn't awful, but I'm tempted to go makes the gate with him because he wound up re-rallying to beat a Dwayne Lucas horse we may well wind up talking about in a bit. He is not one of Bob Baffert's A-stringers. He's run in a couple of big spots, but every time he's run in those spots, he's been outclassed by several other horses. Horses like Citizen Bull late last year. Makes the field.
Number 7, Built. Wayne Catalano trains, finished 3rd in the Risen Star.
This one's tricky because Any horse coming out of the Risen Star, I feel like you have to ask some questions about. Shout out to our friend Chase Sessoms, who is still riding the magnitude high and going pop, pop all over horse racing Twitter. Attaboy, buddy. You keep on stealing pages from the Andrew Champagne Lord Miles playbook. Lord Miles Day, by the way, just a month away. Check your calendars. Built for me would probably be Misses the Field at this point. I was not overly impressed with the Risen Star effort. Nobody was beating Magnitude that day. He was supposed to run better than he did, and he just didn't move forward.
How many points do you think gets you in the Derby this year?
Too early to tell. I think you're going to wind up. It's probably going to be in the 40s, I think, at least to start before defections wind up happening. And then at that point, it's anybody's guess.
Number 8, Matticat Road. Second in the Rebel. Bob Baffert trains this one.
Makes the gate. Matticat Road has a lot of early speed. He set a fast pace in the Rebel and had something left when Cole Battle came to try to collar him. If you rewatch that race at about the 3/8 pole, it looks like Cole Battle is shooting on by. Matticat Road did have something left in the stretch, ran well, held off Sandman, who finished third. For me, makes the field. Not sure a 1.25 miles is quite what he wants. I had the same questions with him that I have about Citizen Bull, but talented horse with a lot of speed.
Burnham Square, number 9 here. 30 points so far. Ian Wilkes trained. Last ran a 4th in the Fountain of Youth.
Misses the field. This is a horse that won the Holy Bull and did so visually impressively, but I don't think he beat a whole heck of a lot. The Fountain of Youth wasn't exactly a stellar field, as we talked about with Sovereignty, and Burnham Square couldn't keep up with Sovereignty in that race. He's a pass for me.
Number 10, Sandman, last finished 3rd in the Rebel, trained by Mark Cassie.
Can this horse please get a trip? He is this year's Can This Horse Please Get a Trip horse. 2 starts ago in the Southwest, he got stone cold, left at the gate, came flying, finished second. Last time out in the Rebel, left with way too much to do, finished third. There will be a jockey switch next time out. I believe one of the Ortiz brothers will have the mount. I'm not 100% surprised about that. The question is, was it the rider's fault, or is he just a tough horse to ride? I would put him in the same category as Sovereignty. He's probably a contender, but if you're looking at Derby odds right now, I do think he's an underlay.
Number 11, Speed King. Ron Moquette trains 10th in the Rebel.
So I'm going to say makes the gate, even though that effort in the Rebel was very poor. He looked like he was in a perfect spot, stalking a couple of lengths off of a fast pace. Then they turned for home, and he came up stone cold empty. Speed King, however, has run a couple of very nice races. Prior to that, he won the Southwest in wire-to-wire fashion. I think he's a very nice horse. He doesn't need many points in order to make the Derby field. I think he winds up getting them somewhere.
Number 12, Chunk of Gold, ran 2nd in the Risen Star. Ethan West trains.
I would say makes the field. This is a clunk-up horse that last time out wound up rallying to finish second behind Magnitude, ahead of Built. He wound up getting ridden by Jarrett Loveberry, and it's actually a pretty cool story. Loveberry had been riding Built. He got taken off of Built, landed on Chunk of Gold, and then beat Built for second money and got Chunk of Gold, a nice chunk of Derby points. Ethan West is a very good trainer. If you're not familiar with him, you should be. He does very good work, especially with claiming horses and moving horses up and doing right by them. I've got a couple of friends that are part of the Thoroughcrowd group. He is their trainer. Chunk of Gold seems like a nice horse. I'll say makes the field.
13, River Thames. Todd Pletcher trains, ran 2nd in the Fountain of Youth.
I believe it's River Thames, I think, if we're going off of the English pronunciation. But I'm going to say contender. This is a Todd Pletcher trainee that's still figuring things out. He hit the front in the Fountain of Youth, and Nick Hines pointed this out on Twitter. When he hit the front, he started looking around. His ears went straight up. This is a very young horse that's still learning. As a result, he sort of waited on horses. Sovereignty was moving, and Sovereignty was probably still best. but I think River Thames has a lot of room to move forward. For me, Contender.
Number 14, Sand Devil Linda Rice ran second in the Gotham.
Misses the field. The Gotham was not great. Somebody had to run second. Less said about that, the better.
My namesake, number 15, Rodriguez. Bob Baffert train ran third in the San Felipe.
I don't think I've ever seen a point total quite like this, Josh. 21.25. But that's what happens when you run in a short field prep like the San Felipe was, and the points wind up getting cut in half. Rodriguez ran second behind Citizen Bull and the Bob Lewis, wound up running third behind Journalism and Barnes in the San Felipe. I'll say he makes the field, but he looks like one of those horses that Baffert will put away for the back half of the year. This seems like one of the 9,000 horses he could potentially line up for the Malibu in December. That's always the fun game to play in California, is try to figure out which Bob Baffert trained horse wins or runs well in the Malibu months in advance. Maybe Rodriguez is that kind of horse. I'm not 100% sure he wants 2 turns, but he does have a lot of talent.
I'm actually curious if if any of the books in Vegas are doing odds. I know Circa stopped doing them, but
Caesars is, I know that much. I'm not
okay.
sure how good those odds are, but they are doing them.
I'm gonna try and get a future wager down on Rodriguez just for giggles.
Well, you
I
have
will
to.
say,
By the way, when I was moving, Josh, you know what I found? I found the best Kentucky Derby future I ever made that did not cash. It was that wager on Forte at 15-1. The ticket is actually still reasonably well intact. Forte, of course, scratching the morning of the race, and then the horse Forte beat, Mage, winds up winning the Kentucky Derby. Still a little angry about that.
Number 16, Disco Time. Brad Cox trains, last seen winning the Lecomte.
I like Disco Time a fair bit. Last time out in the Lecomte, he overcame adversity, which is something I always like seeing horses do. He was very far back over a very muddy track, and he rallied and wound up winning a 3-horse photo. I'm not sure how good that field in the Lecomte was, but I do like seeing horses that can overcome some adversity. He's still got something to prove. For that reason, I'll put him in the long shot category, but I do think we're going to hear more from him.
Captain Cook, Rick Dutrow trains, last won the Withers.
At the risk of bashing Aqueduct mercilessly, I just don't think the 3-year-olds there are any good. For me, misses the gate.
John Hancock, Brad Cox trained, won the Sam F. Davis.
I'll say makes the field with John Hancock. This is a runner that did not race as a 2-year-old, is 2 for 2 this season. The Sam Davis was not a bad field. You had a couple of nice horses in Poster and Owen Almighty. Those are decent runners, and John Hancock was able to get the job done. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see him. The Tampa Bay Derby would make a lot of sense, and that would be a class test for him because Chancer McPatrick is probably running in that race as well.
Number 19, California Burrito, last one to John Battaglia.
For now, misses the field. I need to be able to see it again with regard to that synthetic form. The John Battaglia took a big hit when the likely favorite in that race, who was in my top 5 in the Derby bubble, wound up scratching and being ruled off of the Kentucky Derby Trail. Somebody had to win. He did.
Tiztastic, Steve Asmussen trained, ran 5th in the Rebel.
I'll say makes the field for no other reason than those graded stakes earnings are going to come in handy when you're talking about a potential tiebreaker. You see those earnings of $804,000, much of that coming in a race at Kentucky Downs last year. This is a horse that can run on dirt and turf. Fun horse to root for. I don't think he's the quality of some horses on this list. To me, though, this is one of those Steve Asmussen horses that's going to be pretty good as a 3-year-old, but may have a big chance to move forward at ages 4 and 5.
Number 21, Barnes. Bob Baffert trained, ran 2nd in the San Felipe.
Legitimate contender. You will see a lot on Twitter of people trying to delegitimize Barnes. If journalism's not in that race, Barnes wins by the length of the stretch, it seems, with Rodriguez way, way, way back in 3rd. Barnes ran fine. He may have thrown a shoe in that race, I think I saw. And he ran second in the San Felipe against a very good 3-year-old in what was his first two-turn start. There's a lot of room for this one to improve. I think he's got a lot of class and a lot of potential. Legitimate contender.
Gaming, another Bob Baffert trained, ran 8th in the Southwest.
So he ran 8th in the Southwest and he got banged into the rail mid-race. He lost all chance after that. It was not a great ride. Prior to that, he was a beaten favorite in the Los Al Futurity. He accomplished a fair bit as a 2-year-old. He won the Del Mar Futurity. He was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I really, really liked him in that race, and I thought he was home, turning for home when Citizen Bull rebroke. I think Gaming's got some talent. He's back on the work tab. He took some time off after the Southwest. It's going to be make or break for him. I think he makes the field.
Poster, Owen Hardy trains, ran 3rd in the Sam F. Davis.
So, like I said, the Sam F. Davis wasn't a bad race. Owen Hardy was the trainer of that horse in the John Battaglia that was going to be a very heavy favorite and scratched. So, Poster winds up being this Barnes de facto Kentucky Derby hopeful. I'll say misses the field, though. He's got 16 points. His next start's going to be of the make or break variety.
And then I think now we start getting into like the weird kind of horses. But what is up with Jonathan's Way? Is he off the Derby trail completely, or are they still kind of figuring out what they're going to do?
So he was going to run in the Risen Star. He wound up getting sick, and he's on his way back. I don't know if that's going to be in time for the Kentucky Derby. Personally, I hope they wait. Sometimes the best things to happen to these 3-year-old horses are to be given time to mature and not be rushed back. Jonathan's Way was one of the most impressive 2-year-olds of the entire Saratoga meet last summer. He broke dead last, circled the entire field, won impressively. It's one of the more fun debut races you'll ever see if you wind up looking at the Saratoga form. Jonathan's Way has a lot of talent. Does he want to go 1.25 miles now? I don't know. Is he going to be healthy enough to try one of the Derby prep races? I'm not sure. We'll see with him. He's got a lot of talent, and whatever the case may be, Phil Bauer's a good horseman. He'll do right by him.
So after 24th, right, it starts getting kind of murky. You got a lot of horses that haven't run this year, or you got horses that ran like 3rd and 4th in the minor preps. And does anybody in here kind of stick out to you as one that is maybe might make a long shot or a contender list of yours?
So there are a couple that are on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. Chancer McPatrick at number 29 is the obvious one. He's probably going to be the favorite in the Tampa Bay Derby. I don't know if he wants to go 2 turns. That effort on Breeders' Cup Day was not inspiring, but it's also entirely possible that he just threw in a clunker after 3 very good races in New York, shipping out west to run against Bob Baffert trained horses on their home track. So very interested in seeing that one run. We'll also see Caldera at some point. He ran second in the Sunland Derby. This is a D. Wayne Lucas horse. We're going to see him at least once more, maybe twice between now and Kentucky Derby Day. The only other horse that I really want to go out of my way to talk about is the Bob Baffert trained runner that has a lot, and I mean a lot of buzz off of a first out 6 furlong win at Oaklawn, and that's Cornucopian. Cornucopian had a 101 Beyer speed figure that day, first time out. Serious racehorse number, serious racehorse time in 109 and change. Just because Baffert did this with Justify doesn't mean he's going to do it again. Cornucopian is probably only going to have one shot at Kentucky Derby points. And if we figure that it's going to take probably 40 points to make the field of 20, he's going to need to run first or second, stretching out to 2 turns in his first start against winners off of a bonkers debut. It's entirely possible he's a freak. Josh, at his likely price, I can't bet him.
I guess so. And you kind of mentioned this before. If you had to, and like I said, obviously we're 2 months out, right? This is pie in the sky stuff at this point. But if you had gun to your head, hey, pick a horse, who you're picking here?
I'm going with journalism. Journalism has done everything right. He's done it professionally. He doesn't seem like a horse that needs a particular trip. It seems like he's got some tactical speed, doesn't necessarily need the lead, can sit off of horses, pounce in the stretch, and seems to be getting better with every start. That's where I would go. Dismiss Bob Baffert at your own peril, of course. I think Barnes is very good. I think Citizen Bull is very good. We may very well see Matticat Road take a big step forward as well. In last week's Kentucky Derby bubble, Josh, Bob Baffert trained 6 of the top 20 horses.
Yeah, I really like Citizen Bull. I haven't seen anything bad from him yet. Um, but obviously, we've had some very highly touted Bob Baffert horses that won the 2-year-old championship. That kind of just didn't hit it at 3. Why am I blanking on the latest one?
Game Winner was
Game
fairly
Winner.
recent.
Thank you. Game Winner. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Sire of
Um,
Gaming, who we did talk about.
yep. And that was a really weird year, because that was the year, I think, where you're talking about, where they took the Santa Anita Derby to, I think, try and teach him something, and they ended up getting not Rocketry. What was there's like his Bob Baffert's like third and fourth horse is enough points to get in there, but yeah, it was a weird time, but yeah, I honestly, this feels pretty wide open, and I I think it's going to be an exciting kind of lead up to the Derby. You don't have that one, I think, like dominant horse out there, like I think you did with with like Forte, or um, I'm already forgetting last year's. Who was your pick last year, Andrew? That also didn't end up running a step.
That would be Fierceness, Josh.
Fierceness. Thank you. So yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting lead up to the Derby this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens this weekend. Like I said, these aren't Tampa Bay Derby's not exactly my favorite prep, but I will definitely be firing because I'll be in Vegas. So
As you
um,
should be. If you were in Vegas and you weren't firing, I'd be staging an intervention of some way, shape, or form. My Vegas trip, by the way, comes up in 2 weeks with the basketball tournament. We're recording this on Tuesday, March the 4th. A general's favorite day, by the way, March 4th. Free dad joke for you, people. But I'm flying out on the Wednesday before the basketball action truly heats up. I am very interested, Josh, in seeing Las Vegas because it seems like the pendulum is swinging back in favor of the tourists. After several years of being gouged for March Madness and other sporting events, the Super Bowl in Las Vegas did not have much in the way of tourism traffic, and Vegas hotels were feeling it. Same with the F1 race in Vegas as well. We talked about that a couple of different times. After a couple of years of being nickel and dime for everything, it seems like tourists are making the decision to stay home, and that's going to wind up forcing Vegas to reevaluate certain things. My dad and I are going to be staying down at the south end of the strip at Luxor. There's a couple of reasons for that. There are a couple of sports books down there that are still first come, first serve, where you don't necessarily have to pay a whole bunch of money. We also very much like playing the daily poker tournaments at Mandalay Bay. They do a great job in that room. So looking forward to that in a couple of weeks. One quick recommendation for anybody that's looking for a place to dine in Vegas that's off the strip and off the beaten path. There's a place a couple miles south of the strip called the Bootlegger Bistro. It is a fantastic Italian place, great atmosphere, great service. Prices are very reasonable. I cannot recommend that place highly enough. My dad and I have gone there each of the last couple of trips, and we'll probably be going there again.
featured on Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations, or
Knew what he
not
was
No
talking.
Reservations, other one. What's the other show? Parts Unknown, I think it
Yep.
was on. Um, but yeah, it looks it looks fantastic. I haven't been, like I said, I'm going to another off the strip place called Herbs and Rye this
Yep.
time. Andrew, I don't know. I know you're a big blackjack guy. Did you hear the news about the Palms?
They're putting out low stakes blackjack, right? And it's 3 to 2.
They are getting rid of all their 6 to 5. It's only 3-2.
Hit
And they
the
said,
applause button right now for our friends at the Palms. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
and I believe they said that they are going to be having at least one $5 table and one $5 craps table running, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong.
Yes.
So I don't know if we're going to get there this time, just because the guys are only going to be in town for, for like the 2 nights. But and I think they might want to go check out Circa, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, what else you got going on this week, Andrew?
Oh, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm still finishing the process of moving. We're recording this, as mentioned, on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'm actually taking a road trip to the California state capital of Sacramento for an all elite wrestling doubleheader. They're doing 2 shows that you can get in for the price of one. So, needed to take advantage of that. Very much looking forward to that one. And yeah, this weekend is going to be a lot of unpacking boxes and organizing things and putting together things bought on Wayfair. Anybody out there that's moved and is doing so in conjunction with a significant other, y'all know what I'm talking about. A lot of fun.
And that's going to do it for us here on Drank and Champagne. Obviously, you can check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drink. Andrew is at Andrew Champagne. Winnersandwiners.com. You can check him out all over the place, doing stuff for Hong Kong, doing stuff for DRF, doing stuff on the Pollock Report. He's everywhere. Yeah, no other content this week. Maybe I'll be posting some videos on our Twitter and maybe some shorts. And I'll definitely take some video with the guys. But
go live from Vegas at 4 a.m. See who's watching.
Oh God, have a good one, guys.